Good morning, everyone. I welcome you all to another episode of Engineering with Shamil. And today we are going to discuss about the life safety triangle. And this is going to be the last video in the series. So let us see what does life safety triangle mean and how is life safety triangle plays a critical role in the Lucknow fire incident. So the life safety triangle consists of three parts. So first of all, we have the prevention. The second one is the escape, and the third one is the response. So all the three must work together in order to save lives. So this is why life safety triangle is important. Now, in Lucknow journey, in the Lucknow fire incidents regarding this series, we have actually covered the 15 episodes. We have covered 15 episodes. Each episode was taking a particular concept, and then we are explaining on that concept. So the following concepts we have is the following topics we have covered. So first one is regarding the incident overview. So we have discussed about what the incident was. Then the second one was the single staircase, which was the means of the egress. So it was called as the classic single point of failure. The third one is the smoke. We had discussed about the harms of smoke, and the fourth one is about the biometric locks. Like we have noticed that the locks which are there in the offices that did not open during the loss of electricity, during the disconnection of the electricity. Then there was no emergency exits. Then we discussed about the firefighter access. That is, there is no way for the firefighters to enter the building, and there was no availability of the fire department connections. Then we have discussed about the human factors, basically panic, and then basically it's about occupant behavior. Then we have discussed about the community rescue, areas of refuge, early detection. That there was no detection system or the sprinkler system available in the building. Then we have talked about the stairwell pressurization, then the external escapes, which is there in the building, and then the post-incident inquiry, where the four public officials were suspended and four people were arrested, and then whether they have taken the necessary steps or not. And a special investigation team was already assigned by the government, which comprises of two-member team. So the report, we are still awaiting for that. And then there is a legal accountability, that is every person who is involved in the fire incident, starting from the business owner to the building owner and other authorities, other stakeholders, they are all legally accountable for the fire incident. Then we have the systemic failures. So systemic failures is basically the repeated tragedies that we have discussed. So we have covered a couple of incidents, like starting from the Delhi Malviya Nagar fire incident, then the Jaipur incident, the factory fire incident in Jaipur, and then Chennai, and also in Delhi there was one more fire incident. All these incidents, they are actually having a deadly pattern, because it's a repeatable pattern, and these incidents are taking place because none of us bothered to, because the regulations were not being effective in place. Whatever lessons we have learned, we are not implementing in the next incident. So we are not implementing in such a way that we can avoid the next incident. This is the issue. Now we are coming to the end of the series, so we will bring all the concepts together and then discuss. So as I said before, we have three interconnected elements when it comes to the life safety. So the first one is the prevention. So prevention is basically you are stopping the fires from starting or spreading. The second one is escape. So escape is about getting the people out safely. The third one is the response time, a response. So response is about the professional and the community action. Okay, that is from the firefighters team, from the community side, and also it comes from the yeah. So these are the two main aspects about the response. Okay, so prevention, escape, and response. Because the occupant, I was about to say occupant behavior, but occupant behavior, you're actually talking that in the escape part. So we have prevention, escape, and response. So let us go in detail about what each element is all about. So let us see the prevention. So prevention is considered to be the first line of defense. So prevention is basically the systems. The components of prevention involves. So first one is the active systems. So active system comprises of smoke detectors, alarms, sprinklers. Okay, these are some of the examples of active systems. So if you see in the Lucknow incident, there was no active systems present over there, because people were not aware that there was a fire happening in the building. Then we have the passive systems. So passive systems is where you have the fire rated walls, the floors, the doors, etc. And if you see the Lucknow building again, there is no compartmentation in the building. Then we had the building design. So the building design was that the building was actually designed for a particular purpose, but it didn't have proper permits. The people did not have the proper permits, so they actually used it as an illegal commercial use. So there was no fire resistant construction, there was no zoning involved in the building design, etc. So these are the components which is there in the prevention. Then Then we have the escape part. So escape is basically involving the following components. So first one is the means of egress. So which comprises of the multiple exits, protected stairwells and all. So in Lucknow, there was no multiple exits. It was just one staircase, which was supposed to enter and where you're supposed to exit as well. So here what happened was this: the people who were trapped inside the building, they could not escape, and the firefighters could not enter to rescue the occupants. So this is where the means of egress failed. The second one is the emergency exit. There's supposed to be alternate exits for the occupants to escape from the building. But in Lucknow incident, there was no alternate escape. So by emergency exits, it comprises of the fire escapes, ladders, balconies, etc. Then we have the human factors. So human factors is basically you are actually in when it comes to escape, and when it comes to human factors, one of the some of the examples include fire drills, the plans, and the signage. So no, there was no particular evacuation plan for the building in Lucknow. There was no fire drill. Of course, because of that only people are stuck over there. If there was a fire drill involved, at least there was a chance that people could have escaped from the building. And then we have the access control system. So access control system, which is the biometric locks, it's supposed to be fail-safe egress. That is, when the electricity gets disconnected, the locks should open automatically. But here what happened was the locks remained closed and the occupants were trapped. Then we have the response, that is the last component. So response comprises of the following aspects. So we have the firefighter aspect, firefighter access. So firefighter access is comprising of fire lanes, standpipes, and the fire department connection. So there was no access, there was no standpipes involved in the Lucknow incident. Then we have the community response. So community response is basically the bystander rescue and the awareness. That is the people who were surrounding the building in Lucknow. They actually took the initiative in order to save 5 to 6 people, and also throwing stones at this thing. Their intention was actually to save this thing, but the way they choose was questionable. And then we have the legal accountability. So legal accountability is where where the concepts of enforcement and inspections come into place. But in the Lucknow fire incident, an inquiry was ordered. Inquiry was ordered by the state level government, and as I said before, we are still awaiting for the report. So these are some of the components for each side of the life safety triangle. So we have discussed about the prevention, then we have discussed about the escape, and the last one is the response. So the interdependence, like how these elements are connected. So if the prevention fails, what happens is the fire will start and it will spread. That is the result of prevention fails. What happens if escape fails? If escape fails, then that means the people are trapped. People cannot escape from the building. The third one is the response part. If the response fails, then the rescue is delayed. So that means if the response is not proper, then the rescue will be delayed. Now, what happens when all these three works? If all these three works, what happens is the fire will be contained, people will be escaping, and the rescue will be successful. So this is the result when all the three works together, and all the three should work together in order to make the lives of human safe. So as I said before, fire protection system is designed in such a way that it is to protect the human life, not the buildings. That is number one thing that we need to understand. So in Lucknow, what happened was all the three elements failed. So when it comes to the fire prevention, there was no smoke detectors, there was no fire doors, there was no compartmentation. When it came to the escape, there was only one staircase, there was no alternate emergency exit routes. There was biometric locks, but the locks did not open during the time of the power failure, in the time of fire. And the last one is the response. So there was no firefighter access. Firefighters they came actually, but the thing is that their rescue operation got delayed because they couldn't find an emergency route. So they didn't have proper access. There was no standpipes involved, and it delayed the rescue. So all these three elements actually literally it got failed in the Lucknow fire incident. And when all three fails, tragedy follows. So the key takeaway is that fire protection system is a system. Fire protection is a system. It is not a checklist. So fire protection it comprises of the following. So we have the active systems, we have the passive systems, and the human factors. All the three must work together. If the prevention fails, then the escape is the backup. If the escape fails, response becomes the backup. And in Lucknow, all the three failed at once. So the final lesson is that the Lucknow fire actually killed 15 people. It was actually entirely preventable. Every system we discussed exists because someone somewhere learned the hard way. Someone learned the hard way. They actually had to go through the struggle in order to get the concepts right. So the question that we are posing now is that from this series, from this Lucknow incident, is that whether we will learn something from the Lucknow incident or whether we will wait for the next tragedy to happen to remind us the importance of the fire protection systems. So with this, the series on the Lucknow fire incident has come to an end. So thank you once again for listening. And in case if you have any queries, doubts, or feedback regarding this particular video or this entire series, please do post them in the comment section. Thank you once again. And before I sign off, I would request all of you to kindly like, share, and subscribe so that I can create more videos in future related to engineering. Thank you once again for listening. And I sign off. I'm wishing all of you a good day ahead.